Okay, so I'm gonna rant for a little bit. I'm very passionate about this, and this is something that I've been really delving into and internalizing. And like, thank God I've really come to this place and this peace and this understanding of this concept. I think it's extremely, extremely bizarre that there's so much of this fear of hell, of Gehenna, and so much motivation to fear people into keeping Torah mitzvos and to doing the right thing and to not do averos. There's a lot of this fear. And I'm going to backtrack a little bit. And what is the purpose and the meaning of us all being here? Like, the purpose of this world is to bring Hashem and God into everything that we do, and to connect to ourselves, which is essentially connecting to Hashem, to connecting to God. And when we do an Avera, we are just disconnecting from Source. We are disconnecting from ourselves. And so the actual punishment of doing an Avera is the Avera itself. Because if the whole purpose of this world and of this creation is to bring God into it and connect to our higher selves, connect to our neshama, so we can connect to God and bring Him down into this physical world. And if that's the whole purpose and meaning of this world, to get close to God, then by doing an Avera, we are just furthering ourselves away from Him. We're not just disconnecting from our true selves. We're just disconnecting from Him. And so that in itself is the punishment. So there's no need for this fear of like, don't do Averos, or if you're a bad person, you're going to burn in hell and Gehenna is waiting for you. And I mean, I've spoken to countless people, and thank God this hasn't really been my experience, but I've spoken to countless people that are like, well, if I'm going to hell anyways, like, why do anything? And they're just disconnected from themselves. I'm not even talking about they're not religious or they're disconnected from Torah mitzvos. Like, that's not even the point. They're just disconnected from themselves, because when there's so much fear, like, why bother anyways? I know from my experience, I was like OCD doing these crazy rituals because I was so afraid. And it got to one point, I remember it was ninth grade, I was like, forget it. I'm not doing anything. It was too intense. And it's like, I couldn't keep up. I just couldn't keep up with all the rituals of Judaism. And it's such a twisted concept. The actual punishment of the Avera, and this is like such a deep concept that I'm really so happy that I'm learning, and that I've learned, and that I've internalized from the Baal Shem Tov and Chassidus. The actual punishment of doing Averos is the Avera itself. It's just disconnecting us from God. It's disconnecting us from ourselves. When I was living the life that I was living and not keeping anything, and just like not keeping kosher, not keeping Shabbos, going to parties and living like literally there were no rules. I was so disconnected. I'm not even talking about disconnected from Hashem or from Judaism and Torah mitzvahs. I was disconnected from myself. And I compare my lives now, and I see how that was a punishment. Like, that was suffering. Now it's like, yeah, obviously we're in this world and we struggle, and you know, we have a Yetzer Hara, and we have a Nefesh Behema, and we do have that struggle. And you know, that's the point of this world, to toil and to overcome that, and to really make everything in this world into godliness, into holiness. And so yeah, of course I still do struggle, but I at least have that awareness that when I'm doing an Avera, or I'm doing something that's not in alignment with myself, that in itself is the punishment. There's no like deep, dark, hellish hole that's waiting for me. Like, it's right here, right now, in actually doing the Avera. That's it. And I'm just on a mission to try and spread Judaism from this joyous place, when we can really teach and understand that by living in joy, living authentically, like really connected to ourselves. Like, when we have this excitement for Yiddishkeit, this excitement and the beauty and the peace of recognizing what that feels like to be in alignment with yourself, when we can really live from that place, there's no need to fear and guilt people into doing things. Like, guilt is not a true Jewish feeling. It's not, I mean, forget Jewish, it's just not a natural feeling. Hashem doesn't want our mitzvahs from guilt. He just doesn't. It's not true. It's not a true reason to doing things. So when we can focus on the positive, we can focus on the joy of actually being connected to you. Be connected to you, who you are, and then by default you'll be connected to God. And when we can focus on that, there's no need to teach fear and to teach that by doing Averos you're going to end up in Gehenna. Like, there's no need for that. There's no need for that. And I'll elaborate on this further in another video where, I mean, in case anybody's interested, but like scientifically it's proven what it actually does to your emotions and your genes when you're operating from this fear, and when you're operating from this idea that there's this big bad scary God up there. It changes our genes. It really does. And that I'll elaborate that for another video, but my point right now is to just really spread this message of, when we do Averos, the Avera in itself is the punishment. And that's it. And when we can come to recognize and be aware of that, that's a step. And then we can focus on the joy and the positive of actually not doing Averos. By actually not doing Averos, we connect to ourselves and we connect to Hashem. And that's my food for thought today. Thanks for listening.